The truth about fake love, recognizing emotional manipulation. Have you ever poured your heart into someone, only to feel more alone with them than you ever did by yourself? Have you ever asked yourself, do they actually love me or are they just using me? This video is not for people in perfect relationships. This is for the people who keep giving, keep hoping, and keep hurting. And if that's you, I need you to stay until the end, because clarity could save you years of emotional damage and give you permission to finally walk away. We live in a world where many relationships are built on performance, not connection, on convenience, not commitment. Too often, people confuse affection with attention, but attention isn't always love. In fact, sometimes it's a form of control. And when someone is using you, it usually starts subtly. The psychology behind emotional manipulation reveals that people who use others for validation, power, or support without truly caring for them often show patterns you might have ignored, excused, or misunderstood. Today, we'll break those patterns down into 15 clear signs. And if you recognize them in your life, it's time to stop making excuses and start protecting your peace. Sign 1. They only show up when they need something. This is the most common and obvious sign, and yet it's the one most people ignore. When someone only contacts you when they need help, money, emotional support, or validation, but disappears when you need the same. You are not in a relationship. You are a resource. In psychology, this is a form of transactional relational behavior, where one person only engages when there's a personal gain. Healthy relationships are mutual. Unhealthy ones operate like vending machines. Input equals expected output. Ask yourself, do they check in on you just to see how you're doing? Or does every message or phone call have an agenda? This behavior conditions you to believe your worth is tied to what you can offer, not who you are. Sign 2. Your needs are constantly ignored. Love is about reciprocity. It's about caring for each other's emotional well-being. If you find that your concerns, feelings, or requests are always dismissed or minimized, this isn't love, it's emotional neglect. This is known as emotional invalidation. Over time, invalidation leads to confusion, low self-esteem, and even emotional dependency. Because you're trained to believe your needs aren't important, you might hear things like, "Why are you always so sensitive? Here we go again with your drama. You're overreacting. Get over it." These aren't just offhand remarks, they are systematic ways to silence your emotional reality. Sign 3. They manipulate you with guilt and obligation. When someone uses guilt to control your behavior, it's no longer about connection, it's about compliance. Examples: after all I've done for you, you can't do this one thing. You're so selfish. You never think about how I feel. Wow, I guess I'm the bad guy again. This is called guilt tripping and emotional coercion. It's a psychological manipulation tactic where someone tries to control your actions by making you feel responsible for their emotions. Over time, it creates a toxic emotional loop where you constantly sacrifice your comfort to avoid confrontation. When love turns into obligation and affection becomes transactional, it's not love anymore, it's manipulation. Sign 4. You feel emotionally drained, not fulfilled. One of the most powerful indicators of being used is how you feel after interacting with the person. Do you feel supported or do you feel emptied out? Are you energized or exhausted? If you constantly feel emotionally depleted after conversations or interactions, your body is trying to tell you something your heart might not want to hear. This is often the result of emotional labor imbalance. In healthy relationships, emotional labor is shared. But when one person is consistently offloading their stress, complaints, and issues while offering nothing in return, it becomes parasitic. Chronic emotional exhaustion in relationships leads to burnout, anxiety, and even depression. It's not just inconvenient, it's dangerous. Sign 5. They don't support your growth, they fear it. This is subtle but crucial. When you start improving yourself, getting healthier, more confident, pursuing your goals? Do they support you? Or do they suddenly get cold, distant, or critical? Someone who truly loves you will want to see you grow, even if that growth makes you more independent. But someone who's using you will feel threatened by your progress. Why? Because their power lies in your dependency. This is rooted in control-based relational dynamics. Psychologists call this attachment insecurity with power asymmetry. The user fears losing their leverage, so they unconsciously or deliberately sabotage your growth. You might hear things like, "You've changed, you're not the same anymore. Don't get ahead of yourself, you're not that special. Why do you even need to do that?" Their words aren't concerned, they're controlling. Let's take a breath and look at where we are. Do they only show up when they need you? Do your needs always take a back seat? Are you often made to feel guilty for asserting yourself? Do you leave interactions feeling drained, not uplifted? Do they resist your growth instead of supporting it? If any of those made your stomach turn or your heart sink, this video is speaking to your reality. You're not crazy, you're not needy, and you're definitely not unlovable. You're just waking up to the truth. We're going even deeper into the subtler, more manipulative signs that often go unnoticed. We'll explore what it means when someone uses silence as punishment, how they twist conversations to always play the victim, and why it's so hard to walk away from someone who's clearly wrong for you. This isn't about blame, it's about clarity. And clarity is the first step to emotional freedom. Stay tuned. You need to hear the rest. If you've seen yourself in any of these signs, I want you to do one brave thing today. Write it down. Acknowledge it. Give it a name. Because we can't heal what we refuse to see. And if this content is speaking directly to your soul, hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with someone you know is silently struggling. Let them know they're not alone. Subtle signs you're being used, what they don't want you to see. Sign 6. They get defensive when you set boundaries. Let's say you finally speak up. You say no for once. You ask for a little space. You make a small request. And suddenly, they explode. They accuse you of being distant, selfish, or inconsiderate. This is a boundary violation response, a tactic rooted in emotional immaturity and control. According to psychologists, people who fear losing control often react aggressively or manipulatively when someone asserts independence. Instead of respecting your limits, they make your boundaries about them. This leads you to feel guilty for simply protecting your own peace. Healthy love respects your no. Toxic attachment punishes it. Sign 7. Your worth is tied to what you can offer. Do they only value you for your physical appearance, financial support, emotional labor, or social status? You'll notice this if compliments only come when you've done something for them. Your value drops the moment you stop performing. Their affection feels earned, not freely given. This is called conditional regard, a form of objectification. It reduces you to a role or utility, caretaker, provider, arm candy, rather than seeing you as a full, complex person. This conditioning slowly breaks down your self-worth. You may begin to believe you're only lovable when you're giving, fixing, sacrificing. Love doesn't demand performance, it embraces your personhood. Sign 8. They talk about love, but don't act it out. They say I love you. They post the perfect couple photo. They tell their friends how great you are. But when life gets messy, they're nowhere to be found. Words are loud. Actions are louder. This is verbal affirmation without behavioral consistency, a common trait in narcissistic or self-centered partners. Psychology calls it love bombing followed by emotional inconsistency. They may flood you with affection during good times, but disappear emotionally when you need stability. It's not real love, it's selective performance. Real love isn't just what they say when it's easy, it's what they do when it's hard. Sign 9. They isolate you from support systems. Pay attention if they get jealous when you spend time with friends or family. Create drama when you're around people who truly care about you. Constantly question others' loyalty to you. The more isolated you are, the more power they hold. This is a tactic known as isolation through manipulation, often found in toxic or abusive relationships. It's designed to cut off your external sources of reality, perspective, and strength. By doing this, the manipulator becomes your only emotional lifeline, even if they're the one draining you. It's control disguised as closeness. True love encourages connection, not isolation. Sign 10. You're always second to their priorities. This sign doesn't always look malicious. It can appear passive or subtle. You're constantly rescheduled, deprioritized, or forgotten. You have to earn time or attention. Everything else, work, hobbies, friends, comes before you. And when you bring it up, they accuse you of needing too much. This is called emotional devaluation. It occurs when someone subconsciously communicates, "You're not as important as everything else in my life." Over time, this forces you into an anxious attachment pattern where you lower your standards just to maintain connection. You stop asking for more. You start settling for crumbs. If you're always second, you're not in a relationship, you're in a waiting room. Is this you? Let's pause. If you're wondering, am I just being too sensitive? Or maybe I'm expecting too much? That's already a symptom. When your emotional needs are constantly minimized, you begin to second-guess your own intuition. That's the power of emotional manipulation. It doesn't always shout. Sometimes, it quietly erodes your self-trust until you can't tell the difference between love and control. So ask yourself, do I feel emotionally safe with this person? Do I feel heard, seen, and supported? Am I growing or just surviving? The hidden psychology of being used. Let's be clear. People don't always wake up thinking, "I'm going to use someone today." But that doesn't mean it isn't happening. Here's how it typically works from a psychological perspective. Users are often emotionally immature. They haven't developed the ability to love without control or take without entitlement. They seek relationships to fill a void, not to connect just to soothe their ego needs or wounds. They fear real intimacy because real intimacy requires vulnerability, accountability, and compromise, all of which threaten their need for dominance. They may not even realize they're doing it, but the damage is just as real. If you've stuck with me this far, I know this isn't easy. You're probably connecting the dots, feeling the weight of things you've ignored, explained away, or excused. But you need to hear this. Awareness is not the end, it's the beginning. And in part 3, we'll walk through the final 5 signs plus how to heal, reclaim your self-worth, and finally walk away with your dignity intact. Before we continue, I want to challenge you. Write down one way you've been ignoring your own truth. Just one. That's the first brick in building your new boundaries. Then share this video with someone who might need clarity too. Most people suffering in emotionally one-sided relationships don't even realize they're being used. Help them open their eyes like you are now. Break free. What to do when you realize you're being used. This is where the clarity becomes action. Let's begin. Sign 11. They downplay your pain. Have you ever opened up about your feelings, only to be met with, "You're making it a bigger deal than it is. Why are you always complaining? You're just too emotional"? This is more than being dismissive. It's emotionally abusive. This behavior is called emotional minimization. It's when someone invalidates your emotional experiences to avoid responsibility or to maintain superiority. Over time, you stop expressing your pain altogether. You learn to bottle it up, believing that your emotions are irrational or unimportant. This leads to emotional suppression, fuel for anxiety and depression. Someone who loves you won't silence your hurt. They'll listen, even if it's uncomfortable. Sign 12. They never apologize, only deflect. You confront them. You bring up how you felt. But instead of owning it, they blame you. Change the subject. Turn the conversation into how you made them feel. This is no accident. It's a deflection pattern. This is classic gaslighting combined with blame shifting. They can't tolerate being wrong, so they rewrite the narrative in real time to protect their ego. Instead of, "I hurt you," I'm sorry. You hear, you're too sensitive. You took it wrong. Deflection is emotional warfare. It wears down your self-trust until you're apologizing for things you never did. Sign 13. They play the victim when you hold them accountable. When you start asking questions, when you challenge their choices, they flip the script. Suddenly, they're the one who's hurt. They talk about how misunderstood they are. They remind you of everything they've been through. It confuses you. You came to share your hurt, but now you're comforting them. This is a manipulative strategy called DARVO: deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender. It's used by people who want to avoid accountability by turning the emotional spotlight onto themselves. This keeps you locked in emotional servitude, where your pain is always second to their narrative. If every conversation ends with you being the villain, you're not in a relationship, you're in a manipulation cycle. Sign 14. They control you through fear or silence. When they're angry, they go silent. When you upset them, they withdraw affection. When they're threatened, they disappear for days. This is emotional blackmail. You find yourself tiptoeing, over-explaining, apologizing preemptively just to avoid setting them off. This is avoidant abuse, a subtle but devastating form of control. It activates your fear of abandonment or rejection. The silence becomes a weapon. And the worst part, it trains your brain to equate emotional safety with people-pleasing. Eventually, you're not even living as yourself, you're just managing their reactions. Real love doesn't punish you with silence. It communicates through discomfort, not cruelty. Sign 15. They never talk about a future that includes you. This is the final sign and one of the most painful. They may say, "I love you," but when you talk about commitment, they deflect. When you ask about the future, they're vague. Everything feels temporary. You start to realize you're planning around someone who doesn't plan around you. This is emotional stalling. When someone wants the benefits of a relationship, comfort, support, sex, attention without offering long-term security. People do this to avoid loneliness without having to invest. They want companionship, not commitment. If you feel stuck in a relationship that never evolves, no matter how patient or loving you are, it's not your fault. You're simply dealing with someone who doesn't want the same depth you do. Don't let temporary closeness distract you from permanent misalignment. Why it's so hard to walk away. If you've recognized multiple signs in this video, you might be asking, why haven't I left? The answer isn't weakness. It's wiring. From a psychological standpoint, we bond with hope, not reality. We chase emotional highs, not consistency. We fear being alone more than being undervalued. This is especially true if you've dealt with childhood neglect, trauma, or low self-worth. You were trained to accept the bare minimum, to believe that love must be earned, but it doesn't have to be this way. The psychology of letting go. Here's how to begin the mental shift that sets you free. 1. Detach from their potential. Stop falling in love with who they could be if they just tried. Start evaluating who they are right now. Future fictions are traps. Reality is freedom. 2. Disengage emotionally before you disengage physically. Start by cutting off the energy you pour in. No more explaining. No more fixing. No more rescuing. This signals to your brain that the pattern is breaking. 3. Rebuild self-trust. You're not broken, you've been conditioned. Relearning self-trust means validating your own experiences, honoring your boundaries, and believing that your needs are not a burden. The recovery process, step by step. Healing from being used is not linear, but it is possible. Here's how. Step 1. Grieve what you wanted it to be. Don't skip this. You must allow yourself to mourn the idea of what the relationship could have been. Step 2. Reconnect with your identity. Who were you before them? What did you love? What lit you up? Create a new routine that reflects your voice, not their demands. Step 3. Build a safe circle. Surround yourself with people who validate your feelings, reflect your worth, don't require performance. Healing requires safety. Find or create it. Step 4. Learn about healthy love. Read about secure attachment. Watch emotionally intelligent relationships. And learn dysfunction. Normalize respect, empathy, and commitment. Step 5. Set new standards, not wall standards. Standards come from healed self-worth. They are not punishments, they're boundaries with clarity. Final reflection. If you've made it to this point in the video, you're not just watching passively, you're fighting for your emotional freedom. That matters. You may have been used, lied to, devalued, but that does not define your worth. You are not too sensitive. You are not too demanding. You are not too much. You were just giving love to someone who didn't know how to receive it or return it. But the most important person you can give that love to now is yourself. Closing affirmation. I release what no longer values me. I choose peace over confusion. I deserve mutual love, not emotional survival. I am worthy of real, safe, consistent connection, and I will no longer settle for anything less. If this video helped you see your situation more clearly, share it with someone else who might need that same clarity. You never know how much emotional pain people hide behind a smile. Subscribe for more real talk grounded in psychology, healing, and truth. And remember this, being used is not your fault, but walking away is your power. And healing, that's your future.